All right. Okay. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Clean Hydrogen Stakeholders Forum. After 2 years of having it without any audience, it's so great to see you all here and being able again to talk to each other, to talk with our friends about research and about also innovation. And yeah, we haven't done that for a long time. This year, the European Hydrogen Week became bigger again. I think you noticed, we decided to team up now with the industry and to realize this big and wonderful exhibition here next to our room. It is really worth to pay a visit to all these different booths. Another novelty this year is that we have asked to organize also side events in the different member states. So we asked the member states, do you want to organize in the frame of the European Hydrogen Week an event in your country? And actually it was quite successful. We had 24 side events in October in the frame of the European Hydrogen Week. And why did we do that? Because we believe it's the European Hydrogen Week. It's not the Brussels Bubble Hydrogen Week. It needs to be the European Hydrogen Week, so it needs to take place in every single country, in the local languages. And we need to bring the word of hydrogen to the citizens. We need to explain to the citizens how hydrogen will help to save the planet. Another novelty is our booth. It's the first time to have our own booth here in the exhibition. So, some of you might have already seen it. If not, I would definitely recommend you to go there. It is in the corner over there, and on the first row, very much first there. So go there, because we have our project officers there, our communication team. So the program office is there. If you have questions on our program or on your projects, do not hesitate. Go there. You will always find somebody to explain you how the program works. Since the launch last year by our president, Ursula von der Leyen, who opened and unveiled our logo last year, many things have happened already. We launched the largest call ever in the history of the European Union on hydrogen and fuel cell research in a single year. 300 million euro. And we had 2 cut-off dates. One was May, the other one was September. And already now, we are starting with the grant preparation of 27 projects. And we will have, I can tell you, fantastic projects. So stay tuned. We will communicate about that by the end of the year, the first ones, or in January, because we are now, as I said, preparing to sign all the grants, and then we will inform you. But also, in September, it was also the first time we had a second cut-off date, and now we are busy with doing the evaluations of all those new proposals, and hopefully we can give you a beautiful Christmas present, at least for those who won. For the other ones, maybe you have to work a bit more to get there, but at least we hope before Christmas to inform you the situation. So we are now also preparing the next call. The next call will be in January, and actually last night we had a very strong but good discussion at the governing board, and the beauty is that we concluded. We have all the topics decided, and we will have another call in January, somewhere mid-end January we will launch it, of 200 million euro, or about 200 million euro, and the deadline of that call will be somewhere by the end of April. I mean, the exact dates we will still communicate later on, but I would say if you have good ideas, stay tuned, start to work already on it, because the call is about to come. So, another big news this year was actually the announcement in the framework of the Repower EU to receive the additional 200 million euro to double the amount of the hydrogen valleys in Europe to at least 50 by 2025. Well, later today we will hear much more about this by the head of cabinet of Commissioner Gabriel as well. And I can tell you, Commissioner Gabriel, is really a very, very big supporter of the hydrogen valleys. And this partnership as well, of course. She loves this partnership. And earlier this year, actually, I had the opportunity to join her to a trip to Bulgaria, where she visited several of our hydrogen research projects. And also, we visit a potential hydrogen valley in Bulgaria. And I can tell you today that we have identified, at least in Europe, 58 potential hydrogen valleys in Europe. And we are still counting. So in addition, the hydrogen valleys also went global. And as in Pittsburgh during the SEM and the Mission Innovation event in September, we made also there a call for building hydrogen valleys and hubs around the world. And we are really happy to support with our expertise and best practices. In order to help and make sure that we also have hydrogen valleys in every European country, we have launched in September the PDA, or another PDA program. The PDA is the Project Development Assistance Program. And this was done after a successful first experience in 2020. We just closed it last week, and we had an interest of nearly 30 regions to join this PDA, which I would call really a big success. So I'm confident that we will have the 50 hydrogen valleys in 2025 in Europe. But close cooperation with member states are really a must. And I think later on in the panel, we will have a discussion how we can work with the member states better. Next year is also the year of the skills. And we will spend more attention to this very, very important topic, with potentially the establishment of what we call at the moment, it's a working title, the European Hydrogen Academy. Because everywhere I go and talk with CEOs, their biggest concern today is skilled manpower. So we decided to help them. Later, we will also have a panel on education and skills, which will be moderated by Hélène Crey, which is the head of unit of the DG Research and Innovation for the European Commission. Tomorrow and Friday, you will be able to see the results from many, many of our projects. The coordinators, but also the project officers, will present the results, and also later on we will send, or we will publish a report which you will be able to download with all those results. So go then to our website near the end of the year. You will definitely get a newsletter for that. Finally, I need to thank also my entire team, with my two heads of units, Mirella Atanasio, the head of unit for operations and communications, but also Philippe Binet, who is doing the administration and finances unit. So thank you so much. And here, by the way, I have shown a picture. And this picture is my entire team. And actually, in June this year, we visited the biggest, the biggest electrolyzer plant in Europe. It's a 10 megawatt. It's in Köln with Shell. It's built by the ITM. And as you can see, they're all wearing some uniform, a red uniform, and a helmet. So again, you see, they are real workers. They are ready to work for hydrogen. Because this entire team, ladies and gentlemen, they give every single day the best of themselves. Without them, I would not be able to bring this partnership to such a success as it is today. I can tell you the workload is extremely high because we are front-loading the program. I mean, we will spend 500 million euro in the first 2 years. It's more than half than our budget. It's a big front-loading of this program. We are almost doubling compared to the FCH2. The budget's almost doubled compared to FCH2, and we have only 2 additional staff. So, to my team, you are really doing an incredible and exceptional job. Congrats to you all, and you are really the best. And maybe a little applause for the entire team. Finally, I would like also to thank all the people who helped to realize this event this day and tomorrow and Friday as well, but the entire event. And also thank you to the audience of being here today and to listen and interact. It was really a pleasure. Thank you. And now I will start to introduce you some keynote speeches. And the first keynote is from our chair, of course. And since last night, we have a new chair. She was introduced on Monday as a president-elect, but now I can say yesterday it was a successful election. Congratulations to Melissa Verykios. She's the CEO of Helbio Technologies, but now also our chair. I'm looking forward to work with you in the coming years. So she joined Helbio in 2017 to restructure and financing and internal operations of the company. She has followed a 10-year career in New York and London, so she's really a financial person. We need that in the hydrogen sector. And also she has the US knowledge, so that's also very important. Much entrepreneurial knowledge maybe, and willing to take risks, very important. And now she is leading actually the deputy CEO of Helbio and also followed with the president role at Metacom Helbio. After the merger in 2021, focusing now on public affairs of the company and supporting sales exposure. Melissa, the floor is yours. I'm looking forward to your keynote. Thanks.
Thank you, Bart, for the refreshing introduction. Just to clarify, my role is the president role for Metacom now as the company submerged, for the record. Dear all, I am honored to speak to you as the chair of the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking. I'd like to welcome you to this energetic and rather impressive Hydrogen Week, while we gather here with major stakeholders from industry and research at the Clean Hydrogen Partnership to celebrate the European Commission's support and the success of this unique partnership. We take this opportunity to discuss the continuous needs to take position and support the European energy debates, from the avenues to support structures to breaking barriers in hydrogen energy sector, the deployment of new technologies and climate action at large, and ultimately the role the Clean Hydrogen Partnership can play in changing Europe. Last year, we heard from Ms. von der Leyen that Europe is the world's clean hydrogen trailblazer. The hydrogen ecosystem today is evolving as the resolution of decarbonization and reindustrialization, but also for energy security, which has heavily impacted us throughout the global climate crisis. We also heard from Ms. von der Leyen that we need global endeavor and Europe should remain the leader of the pact. The activity of this HAU is crucial for the R&I of mature hydrogen technologies and thus reaching the EU 2030 and 2050 net zero targets as part of the REPowerEU Fit for 55 package in the European Green Deal. These detailed legislative packages encompass many key proposals for the hydrogen sector, and they have impacted the pace of investments. We heard yesterday from Mr. Timmermans that there is no going back in cheap fossil fuels. If we think of cheap energy, it will be renewable energy. He also stated that time is of essence, what works fastest is what we will do. The potential of hydrogen as key element to meet the net zero climate goals has been illustrated in many scenarios. The potential is supported by growing investment in research and innovation, thus simulating the scaling up of our ecosystem. Coming from the single kilowatt scale, we have now arrived at the tens of megawatt scale projects, and we need to arrive to gigawatt projects by 2030 to reach our goals. This can only be accomplished by continuous cooperation between public and private partners throughout the value chain, from increasing renewable energy production to developing hydrogen and user solutions. The mechanism of REPowerEU and the plan to rapidly reduce dependence on Russian fossil fuels and to fast forward the green transition is targeting investments rapidly for the security of supply in energy infrastructure alongside large-scale investments in the EU-wide hydrogen backbone. REPowerEU has topped up 200 million euros on Horizon Europe investments on the hydrogen joint undertaking to double the number of hydrogen valleys. The impact that the successes of the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking is leading, with more than 1 billion investment throughout the FCHJ 1 and 2 JUs, have led us to put Europe at the forefront of the race for innovation, and especially for efforts and accomplishments made on PEM and solid oxide technologies, and to have more than 100 trucks on the road, which is a long way since we developed technology building blocks. We have started the formation of the first ecosystem for hydrogen valleys, starting from big hits in Ornki, to which we would refer to a few years earlier, to Green Highland in Mallorca, which is a 10-megawatt project, and to Heaven, a project where a 20 million euro funding triggered a 100 million euro total investment. Worth noting projects such as Jive and Jive 2, where entire cities were pulled together to launch and operate infrastructure for H2 buses, and have played a critical role in creating a healthy and viable system and ecosystem for mobility. Ultimately, to achieve economies of scale and affordable hydrogen prices, we need to build more projects. It's worth mentioning our future objectives and future breakthrough technologies in plan. The Clean Hydrogen Partnership, as a successor of the FCH2JU, continues to support technologies throughout the TRL ladder, through the implementation of projects, boasts a fruitful periods of research, and continuous development of ecosystem to support hydrogen valleys for granular and supportive demonstration of technologies developed. Elevating efforts in supply chain while addressing sustainability, recycling of materials, critical materials, and issues on the value chain that are yet to be examined. Supporting and enhancing breakthrough technologies, notably in aviation, but also on liquid hydrogen, on novel electrolysis systems such as proton-conducting ceramic, supporting low-thermal research to address performance of next-generation electrolyzers and fuel cells, as well as new materials for hydrogen storage, which is very important. Impact is key, and therefore all partners are working together to develop synergies with PPPs and with other initiatives and funding instruments to ensure the best return of investment on the Horizon Europe program. Therefore, we're not doing it alone. We work hand in hand with Clean Aviation, which is possibly a brilliant example on building blocks, developed Clean Hydrogen JU and then integrated into aircraft for Clean Aviation JU, and also synergies with Connecting Europe facility when it comes to large-scale deployment. Clean Hydrogen JU follows suit with funding vehicles, and CEF with funding of infrastructure. Even smaller size projects, such as metrology, are worth mentioning. It's a critical area where industrial needs are directly addressed by close cooperation between Hydrogen Europe Research, and Euromet. The current momentum has a huge impact, and therefore all partners have rolled their sleeves up to cooperate, to develop work packages, and to set up clear technological priorities for the next decades throughout all aspects of the value chain, for production and transport, distribution and storage, to mobility and industrial end uses. We look forward to this heavily creative work, and we welcome you all to participate in all parts of the value chain, to put your very own fingerprints into this pan-European energy transition we're witnessing. Thank you. I wish you enjoy our Hydrogen Week. Thank you, Bart, and bonne continuation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Melissa, for that. Yeah, maybe you can. So you will see, ladies and gentlemen, that this partnership is led by powerful women now, because the next person is again a powerful woman. She's my vice chair of the Clean Hydrogen Partnership. Her name is Rosalinde van der Vlies. She's the director of the Clean Planet in the European Commission, for the Directorate, of course, for Research and Innovation. And she is also the Deputy Mission Manager of the Climate Neutral and Smart Cities mission, a very, very important mission, by the way, and the Vice Chair, of course, of our partnership. Before she was appointed the Director, She was actually the head of the Coordination and Interinstitutional Relations Unit and acting head of Communication and Citizens Unit. Previously, she also held positions in the Director General of Environment and the Directorate General for Justice and Home Affairs, and she also was in the private office of Janis Potočnik. He was the European Commissioner for the Environment. So, before joining also the European Commission, she worked as a competition lawyer in an international law firm in Brussels and was a part-time teacher at the Catholic University in Brussels. So, Mrs. van der Vlies, the word is you, and please come on stage. Thank you. Looking forward to your talk.
Thank you very much, Bart, for the kind introduction, and good morning, everybody. Let me just start by congratulating the organizers for this really amazing and inspirational event. I think this is really wonderful. I think there's a lot of energy here. And also what we hear from the background noise, it's actually people meeting and networking. So I think it's really absolutely great to be here. And in my keynote address this morning, I wanted to zoom in a bit more on the partnership. Because it's very clear that we, at this moment in time, are living through many crises. I don't need to inform you of the crises that we are facing. But at the same time, of course, crises also bring opportunities. And I think in particular for the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, which is celebrating its 15th year, I learned yesterday. So this is, we come from a long way. But I think especially for the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, there is a lot of opportunities. Now, let me first give you a bit of background on the idea we had with the partnerships under the Framework Programme for Research and Innovation, Horizon Europe. So basically, we now have the biggest framework program for research and innovation in the European Union. We have 95.5 billion euros that we are investing in research and innovation, which also shows that research and innovation plays a key role to deliver on our policy priorities. But what we did when we were designing the framework program, we were looking into the existing partnerships. And we basically concluded that we have had a jungle of partnerships. Under the previous framework program, we had more than 120 partnerships. And when we looked at the activities, we basically concluded in the evaluation of these partnerships that it was really great to bring together, the stakeholders and the European Commission to develop a joint common strategic agenda. But we also realized that some of these partnerships were not really focused on delivering impact and not really targeted to deliver on the policy priorities of the European Union. So this is why under Horizon Europe we said we are going to change this landscape of partnership, we are going to rationalize it, and we're going to apply 3 key principles to all Horizon Europe partnerships. So I will go through these 3 key principles, and I will explain to you why the Clean Hydrogen Partnership is in pole position to respond to these 3 principles that apply to all partnerships of Horizon Europe. So the first principle is that all the partnerships should be policy oriented. So all the partnerships of Horizon Europe should be delivering clear results and contribute to the Commission policy priorities. Now, we've heard from the previous speakers already that in the Repower EU Action Plan, which is a top priority for the European Commission to help Europe to become sustainable and secure and affordable in its energy system. So this is really a top political priority. And there, the Clean Hydrogen Partnership has received an additional 200 million euros to roll out further hydrogen valleys in Europe. So I think that already by itself shows how politically relevant the Clean Hydrogen Partnership is. Now, looking ahead at a few priorities for the coming months and years, Bart already mentioned skills, and indeed, skills will be very high on the political agenda of the European Commission. We have nominated next year as the European Year of Skills, and of course, we are very much looking forward to the contribution of the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking to deliver on the skills agenda for the hydrogen sector. Later next month, the Commission will present a new policy package to stimulate a circular economy in the European Union. And also when it comes to circularity and recyclability, I think the partnership has a very important role to play and has already invested, also through previous partnerships, in delivering on circularity and recyclability. The last initiative that will be presented next year that I want to highlight this morning is to reduce our European dependency on the imports of raw materials. And again, I think also in this aspect, the partnership can play a very important role. So this was the first general principle, policy orientation that applies to all partnerships. And I would say, great job and great opportunities for the Clean Hydrogen Partnership. The second principle is openness and transparency. In the past, some of the Horizon partnerships were regarded as closed clubs, where you just have a group of friends working together and other companies that may want to join, and in particular smaller companies, have no access to this partnership. I think the Clean Hydrogen joint undertaking has demonstrated its openness to newcomers, welcoming stakeholders from across the entire value chain, and also opening the doors for smaller companies. So I would really congratulate the partnership for this open approach, and I really would also encourage stakeholders that are maybe in the room today or listening that are not yet member to join the club, because this is an open partnership and we welcome also new members. Openness also means open to the world, because of course we want to be a leader as European Union in the hydrogen economy, but we also need to work across our European borders and contribute to also delivering a global market for hydrogen. So also here, cooperation with Africa and the Mediterranean countries are very important. And the joint undertaking also has made a very important contribution to mission innovation, which has a specific mission on clean hydrogen across the globe, where we want to drive down the costs of hydrogen globally and establish at least 100 hydrogen valleys in the world. Now, the third criterion is impact-driven, because it will be very important in the end to deliver tangible results. And here I would like to mention three aspects in particular. First of all, we can deliver impact through our partnership by focusing not only on mainstream technologies, but also on disruptive innovations. Secondly, an impact-driven approach requires a lot of leverage. And I think also here the Clean Hydrogen members are really committed, also financially committed, to make the partnership a big success. And lastly, in order to deliver on impact, we need to make sure that we move from research and development and that we deploy results large scale on the market. And here we have a very important tool at our disposal, and previous speakers already mentioned it, and this is the famous word synergies. And I have to apologize here to my colleagues who told me that I talk too much about synergies. But okay, I have to mention it. But synergies, it's not a goal in itself. It is really a tool to deliver more impact. And synergies is of course multifaceted, but I would like to focus on three synergies in particular. First of all, synergies with other partnerships. And Melissa already mentioned the great example of beautiful synergies established between the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking and the Clean Aviation Joint Undertaking. But there are many other opportunities to cooperate with end-use partnerships, for instance, in the area of rail, in the area of road transport, waterborne and steel. So I really would invite the partnership to look into further opportunities to collaborate with other partnerships. And maybe it could even be an idea, as is hinted at in the Single Basic Act, to reserve a certain budget of the joint undertakings in the future for joint activities with partnerships. The second synergies are, of course, synergies with member states. And here we have a great opportunity in the state representative group to align the strategic agendas also with the member states. But beyond the state representative group, we are also revamping our set plan. I also already mentioned it yesterday, and the set plan is also a great tool in order to develop joint strategic agendas beyond the partnership with other stakeholders, in particular with the member states. I also would like to underline the opportunities there are to join forces with the cohesion funds. And the Commission has a few months ago published guidelines on how the member states through the cohesion funds can work closely together with the joint undertaking. And member states could even decide to transfer a budget to the budget of the joint undertaking to invest in common priorities. Lastly, and this I have to do, I cannot resist, is synergy potential with cities. We have 100 cities in the European Union that have committed themselves to become climate neutral by 2030, which is a huge ambition. Some of these cities are also located in ports, and I think there will be a great potential to investigate opportunities to collaborate with these cities and to basically make these cities that want to become climate neutral also hydrogen valleys or hydrogen hubs. Now, lastly, let me conclude by underlining the importance of this week also for the dissemination and communication about the great work that this partnership is doing. Because I believe this partnership is meeting very clearly the three principles that have been established for all partnerships in our Horizon Europe program, because this partnership is in pole position to deliver on the policy priorities. This partnership has shown that it's open and transparent, and this partnership will deliver impact. So I would conclude by inviting all of you to talk about this, to talk about the great results that have been delivered also in previous partnerships that we will hear about more later today and tomorrow, and also about the great potential of the new amazing projects that will be launched under this partnership. So let's talk about it, let's create a buzz, let's make sure that everybody in the European Union, beyond the hydrogen sector, knows about the potential of hydrogen for European Union to make sure that we have sustainable, secure and affordable energy for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rosalinde, for this powerful speech. And I will not forget the three principles. And I'm happy that you are happy, actually, as a Commission about this partnership. So after these two powerful women, we have a man. The man of research, the research man in Europe for hydrogen. So Laurent Antoni, he's the president of Hydrogen Europe Research, which is the European Research Association on Hydrogen and Fuel Cells. They are gathering now 120, I think, almost. He will tell us much more about that. Universities and research institute. But he is also, of course, a member of the governing board of the European Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking. In addition, he is also the president of the Technical Committee of the Fuel Cells at the International Electric Technical Commission, and also a national representative in different working groups at international organizations such as the IEA, Advanced Fuel Cells, the IEA on Hydrogen, the TCP, the International Partnership for Hydrogen and Fuel Cells in the Economy, well, shortly IPHE. So, a real researcher and an international well-known researcher. Laurent, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Bart, for this kind introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be here again, and I would say I'm also happy to be a man to ensure that there is some gender balance. I know Commission is very keen on that, so 2 women, 1 man, nice gender balance. And as mentioned, I'm very happy to be here again, and I would just say, what a journey. Since 2008 and the first FCH-JU, and at that time, we were far less people, a small team. We had to learn to each other. And now we see the big family we are today with this Clean Hydrogen JU. And we can just be very happy about that. And I think today also we can say that we are living exciting times with historical opportunities, but then also, I would say, with critical responsibilities. So why exciting times? Usually we heard that hydrogen is the energy of the future. No, hydrogen is now. The time of hydrogen is now. And as we now, I would say we want to decarbonize our society, so hydrogen has become quite high on many political agendas. And COP21, for instance, has really been a big change in the way to see how to decarbonize. And as mentioned, with these exciting times, now we also have historical opportunities. And hydrogen is now also recognized as the second leg of the energy transition, and many countries over the world, but in particular in Europe, with the European Hydrogen Strategy, member states' hydrogen strategy, are putting hydrogen high on their agenda. But what we have to ensure is that now also we will be able to take these historical opportunities, unfortunately also with this energy crisis, to take these opportunities to make hydrogen a real solution. And here, I think we have to also to mention that during COP26, Fatih Birol, the director of IEA, was mentioning that if we want to achieve the COP21 targets, 50% of the needed technologies are not already developed. This means we have an historic opportunity to support disruptive research, disruptive solution. This has been mentioned by Rosalinde before. We can take these opportunities, these budgets now, to really prepare the future by having new solutions. And as mentioned, also after historical opportunities, means also now we have critical responsibilities. I can remember Mr. Strohmeyer. He was at the FCH1, the vice chair of the FCH-JU, and he was telling us at the stakeholder forum, I think it was in 2016 or 17, stop promises. Now it's time to deliver. And I think this is exactly what now is also for our community. Now it's time for the hydrogen community to deliver. And we can say that we are on the way. We are on the way. There are now hundreds of hydrogen projects referenced in the Clean Hydrogen Alliance project pipeline. And the main focus today is what? Is mainly to deploy hydrogen technologies, in particular through Vlies, and this has been very well mentioned by Mrs. van der Vlies. Also now to ensure massification, and in particular to build plants, and this is thanks also now to this IPCI on hydrogen, which now we may be able to produce a lot of supply chain and a robust European supply chain. But as stressed also by the Hydrogen Council, among these hundreds of projects, only 10% have achieved the final investing decision. So we are on the way, but there is still a lot to do. And then the question is, how can we increase that number? And on my side, for hydrogen research, how can research support, in particular hydrogen research, support to increase that number? And here I would say, I would speak about 2 points. First, reducing uncertainty. And then also creating confidence. So the first point regarding reducing uncertainty, we must get low carbon hydrogen cost competitive. First point. Then we also have to have a really robust European supply chain. And finally, we need also to have a very strong and robust policy signals with regulatory certainty. And regarding creating confidence, we need also to ensure that all the products we are developing are safe and reliable. And Rosalinde van der Vlies was speaking about transparency. Yes, the JU is transparent, but we also need to create market transparency. And this is also very key, important. And then we say, but what a researcher is speaking about that. But the question is, how can now research support all these topics? Researchers are not only people working in a lab and carrying out some experiments. They have to also to have a broader view and to see how they can support industry policymakers on all the different topics. So regarding reducing uncertainty, to have a low carbon hydrogen cost competitiveness. Here, of course, it's, I would say, business as usual for researcher, which is to support industrial developments. This is for sure. But the most important, and I would say in particular these days, is to focus and to enhance low TRL early stage research. We need breakthrough disruptive research solution. And this is important that, and the JU is also very well placed to support this innovation. And the question is also, once you have that, to prepare the future, you need also to go from lab to industry. And this is really the way to change the game, but also to ensure quick innovation. And here I would like to stress that one thing are the technology and research infrastructures. We need to support that. This is something we've started under this, with Hydrogen Europe Research. We have a lot of labs, we have a lot of means, but how can we apply additionality? And I know sometimes additionality is the word, depending on which text we are considering, is not, we do not have always the same definition or the same vision of additionality. But here, in that case, additionality means 1 + 1 = 3. So we need to collaborate, to work together. And that's why, in order to support industry, is to ensure that we have a good mapping of research, technology, infrastructure, to see what are the missing tools, missing platforms, and then owing to this European support, but also the member state support, can we fill these gaps and to ensure that researchers can perform disruptive research in labs, and RTOs, in particular, owing to technological platforms, can upscale and mature this innovation before transferring to industry. As industry today is focused on building their own plant and producing, and start producing and deploying. And here, I also very welcome initiative of the Commission regarding this new implementation work group on hydrogen for set plan, as it is really a nice opportunity to see how we can work together at the European, but also at the member states level to align policies, and in particular on that research for hydrogen. And we were also mentioning research with mission innovation too. Here also, I think there are some works to be done to work together at the European level, but also international level. So this is very important that we do not think of Europe, but at the research level to work together. And then also another point regarding reducing uncertainty was, and has been mentioned previously, skills. And I'm quite happy that now this topic is quite high on the political agenda. I was mentioning that 5 years ago at also at the stakeholder forum in 2017, telling that hydrogen research really wants to support training to ensure that European industry has highly skilled workforce. And so we're happy now that we're all working together, and workforce means not only engineers or doctors as for universities, but also for operators and technicians. And so working all together, and research here can really be a big support to educate these people or to reskill or upskill existing workforce. And finally, I was speaking about regulatory certainty. Here also, we all agree that we need to have stable, robust regulations. And this means we need to have pre-normative research to ensure that these regulations or standards are based on scientific and technological facts. Now, I would say that it's one thing to say, but it's another thing to do. And that's why I would really recommend that during this joint undertaking, we really enlarge and increase the support of this pre-normative research, as this will really help to have really robust standards and robust regulations. Then, second point I was mentioning is also to create confidence. So create confidence means to ensure safe solutions. And here also, pre-normative research can help to ensure that when you're installing, when you're operating a fuel cell system or electrolyzers, you can do that with no fear. It is sure. And another point to create confidence is also to ensure our customers or hydrogen users that if you are using low carbon and renewable hydrogen, it's good for the planet. It really goes in order to achieve our climate objectives. And here we need to demonstrate sustainability. And this is also one of the key words, sustainability, recyclability, circularity. This is something that the JU now we also try to integrate in all our projects from the beginning. And here I think research can also bring some innovation, in particular regarding eco-design. From the beginning, we need to have that in mind about this circularity, sustainability, and this is now a new approach by eco-design. And we need also to support regulatory bodies, but also policy makers, as mentioned, to ensure that there is a real market transparency. And here there are some quite hot topics. If we want to demonstrate that the hydrogen we are using is really clean, is first, what about the carbon footprint? Secondly, sometimes we're also speaking about the hydrogen global warming potential. Or now, more and more, we speak about the water stress. We need water to produce hydrogen. And here I think the research community can really bring facts in order to ensure that what we are demonstrating, what we are writing in the regulations is really based on fact. And here we can support both industry and policymakers. And finally, I would say another point to create confidence, and the last one, is also to ensure interoperability. If we want that people adopt hydrogen technologies, they need to be sure that I can use this technology wherever I am. I use a car, if I am in Belgium, or if I am in Spain, or even in Poland, I can drive my car, or I can buy an electrolyzer in Europe, run it in America. There is a real interoperability. And here also research can support industry to make this standardization and this interoperability happen. So in conclusion, I'm very happy to be here and to see so many people. And I think I mentioned from the beginning, we are really living an exciting time. We have historical opportunities, but now we have also critical responsibilities. And all together, we have to work to achieve these targets. And as representative of the European research, we can just say that we are more than happy to contribute to achieve these goals and to work all together in a very strong collaboration. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Laurent. I'm so happy that you make the pitch for research, because we talk every day here now about scaling up and speeding up and all these things, and we would sometimes forget research. But with you, we never forget research. That's clear. So thank you very much, and to everybody, we still need research. Sorry. So yes, now we will go to our first panel discussion, and for that I would like to call to the stage my three panelists. And of course, the first panelist I would like to call on stage is Lara Josifova. She's the head of international relations at the National Institute of Meteorology and Hydrology in the Ministry of Innovation and Growth of Bulgaria. You can take place here. I will take this seat. Anyway, thank you. Thank you very much and welcome. Basically, Laura received she was part of the University of National and World Economy of Sofia. There she did political science, and also later on in the same university, she followed public economy development. She's actually working in the area of research and innovation policy since 2003, so a real specialist in policies of research. And when she joined actually the Ministry of Education and Science. She has held also various distinguished roles, among which research project coordinator at the Bulgarian Academy of Science. It's a very important academy, I know that. I talked a lot with them. And now she's working in the Ministry of Innovation and Growth, responsible for programming of research, innovation, and digitalization support instruments. Long title, but I'm sure you will explain you in a minute. All right, the next panelist is Marko Maver. He is the Secretary and Cabinet Member at the Ministry of Environment and Spatial Planning of the Republic of Slovenia. Welcome, Marko. Please take a seat. He has more than 10 years of research and professional experience in environmental science and policy making. So again, a policy expert in research. What a team. And he sees actually his purpose in bringing stakeholders together and advocating for technological, policy, and wider societal challenges to combat one of the greatest challenges of our time, which is the climate change. And I read also you're a marathon runner. Fantastic. And also aviation enthusiastic. So you're probably happy with our synergy with the aviation joint undertaking, I can imagine. Great. And now our last panelist is Matej Sude. He's from the European Commission, from the DG RTD. And actually Matej is the Clean Hydrogen Mission Director. We heard about the mission innovation already, and so Matej will tell us all about the mission innovation and what is going on with hydrogen over there. So I will join you. So, oh yes, thank you very much. So that reminds me that I have to inform the audience that you can ask questions and on Slido. So please ask questions to our panelists, and then later on, I will take a few of them, but please do it. I will see if they come. Okay, so maybe I will first invite you maybe to make a kind of introductory, 5 minutes introductory about what you're doing and what are the key issues that you see on how we can work together with the member states, because this session is actually about how we in Europe, the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking, can work closer together with the member states, how can we combine funding and so on. And of course, I would like to ask you first from Bulgaria to explain how Europe and Bulgaria can work together. Because by the way, it's quite interesting, our panelist is now 2 countries of the Eastern Europe, Central Eastern Europe. I mean, in the past was mainly Western European countries here, so I'm so happy to see now also we have Bulgaria and Slovenia here on stage.
We have to catch up anyway.
You're doing well, I have to say.
Yeah, I'm quite sure that we will be doing well. So to continue in my role, I'm currently responsible for the programming of the new one of the new programs for the new programming period 2021-2027 with the long name which combines research, innovation and digitalization in the public sector specifically. And it's really a very special and very challenging program because it's go beyond the usual programs that we are used to see, especially in Bulgaria in the last years. They were either for economical development and regional disparities, etc., or for employment and skills and such kind of things. And this is the first time that we have a program which is focused on research and innovation. In the last programming period, we had a program which was developing centers of excellence and centers of competence, but it was mainly focused on infrastructural development. And now our goal is to go beyond this infrastructural development and to ensure the sustainability of research and innovation, especially focused on regional level, which is lagging behind in terms of overall economic development of the country. And what else is very important to be said for this program, and is that this is the only program in Bulgaria that will be using the synergy approach that is introduced by the European Commission quite soon, I would say. One of your keynote speakers already mentioned it, the possibility. We will do that. The problems, of course, are still emerging, but I do hope that with joint efforts we will be able to overcome them. So I will let other colleagues.
I will come back to that in a minute. I have a question for you on that. I like to hear that. Okay, Marco. Maybe you can tell a bit what you're doing and what are the key issues where you're working on at this moment in Slovenia, on the research, but maybe also on hydrogen a little bit.
Of course, yeah. Thank you, and thank you for inviting us to this event. And on behalf of myself and the Ministry of Environment in Slovenia, we're very pleased and honored to be at this attending Hydrogen Week. Usually not attend these kinds of bigger conferences, so this is stepping a little bit out of my comfort zone. But it plays perfectly well into what the message that I want to convey, and maybe for the audience to take home, is stepping out of the comfort zone. I think we have it's human nature that we tend to stay in a comfort zone, but as I'm sure you would agree, progress and innovation usually starts when we step outside the comfort zone. So that's one of my key messages, and that's something that me, with 10 years of research experience and professional experience working at the Ministry of Environment in Slovenia, and also working for an NGO here in Brussels, has what I've tried to do as a person, but also to advocate across very different policy and research spheres. I think in Slovenia at the moment we have a strong focus on increasing our climate ambition. We have our long-term climate strategy and national energy and climate plan, which is going to be under revision next year. And certainly we do acknowledge the role of hydrogen that is to play in our decarbonization efforts. We have identified quite a lot of challenges, in particular in the transportation sector, which is a big problem for us, and also decarbonizing an energy-intensive industry. So what we're trying to do now in the next coming months and years is also, which plays well with what the previous speakers have said, is to identify synergies where research and innovation can take place, in particular as far as hydrogen is concerned. We have shown this in the past by supporting projects from the beginning, and will continue to do so in the future, such as the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley, for example. We do, as I'm sure you would agree, actions speak louder than words. So we're not just saying things that sound nice, but we also are looking to develop a national hydrogen strategy. I think Slovenia is one of the only remaining countries that doesn't have a national specific hydrogen strategy yet. And also in light of supporting climate mitigation and adaptation projects, we have a specifically dedicated climate fund through which we look to increase funding for all different stages of developing hydrogen technologies and systems, such as home heating systems for general consumer markets. And really our role as policymaker and advocates is to, as it was mentioned by speakers beforehand, is to create that policy certainty. So I think the 3 or 4 key messages that I've kind of played music to my ears were, of course, synergies, as I'm sure you've heard a lot of times today, impact-driven projects, supporting the projects that have a really high impact, and disruptive research. So when we do look to change our climate fund in the next couple of months, we're going to be looking for projects that have followed all these criteria. They're impact-driven. They cause disruptive research, and also look for synergies not only within the country but also neighboring countries, Italy, Croatia, Austria, and so forth. And we'll put our best efforts into working with clean hydrogen partnerships and other stakeholders at the EU level to really kind of push things forward, because we can't, as I mentioned in the beginning, we can't remain complacent and really move towards implementation of these projects if we want to kind of achieve our targets.
Interesting. You triggered me with the climate fund. I will come back to that one.
Sure.
Matthijs, welcome. So Matthijs, tell me, the clean hydrogen mission, what are you doing in that mission? We heard already a little bit from Rosalinde, but I'm sure you can tell us much more about it.
A very short introduction. Thank you for inviting, Bart. I think I have 2 hats here a bit. Working in DG Research and Innovation in the team of Rosalinde. We're working a lot as well on the SET plan, Strategic Energy Technology Plan, where we would like to strengthen the relation with the member states, where we see as well we can do a lot from Brussels, and you're doing a great job from here. But the main work is in fact in the countries themselves, in the regions, and we really have to strengthen the relation. I think we are inspirational from Brussels, but the real work is at your place. And I think that we need this discussion in the SET plan. We would like to revamp what is the environment which we have to create in the member states, in Europe, in the regions, to make it work. And it's not only about money, I think. But we are doing great work here in Europe. I see many great examples, but we have to go global. You were in the introduction, it was already mentioned, the aeronautics sector, the maritime sector. Look, where are the ships going when they can't fuel clean hydrogen, when they are in South America, in Singapore, whatever. So what we have as a philosophy to build a hydrogen economy, we should export this and make it global. And that's what we are doing as well in Mission Innovation. Mission Innovation started 7 years ago under Obama, where more than 20 countries committed to increase the investments in clean energy research and development and investments. 2 years ago, after 5 years, a kind of evaluation, and said we would like to be more impactful. Let's define missions. Where do we like to set a dot on the horizon, and where do we like to go? And one of them was to build a global clean hydrogen economy. And we have there 3 targets, in fact, investing more in research innovation to realize real cost reductions. I think also in the last half year we are aware that it's not only about cost reductions, but it's also about security of supply chains, etc. The second one is indeed to demonstrate the new technologies. And Horizon Europe, Hydrogen Europe Research was explaining we have breakthrough technology. We want to like to bring it to the market. We have to demonstrate it, and we like to do it in so-called hydrogen valleys, very popular. You mentioned it already. And yeah, you know most likely as well, the Brewers, together with the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, developed, and this is the latest version, with beautiful examples of what is going on. And I think it's very inspirational. Please have a look. But we like to see 100 hydrogen valleys on a global level by 2030. And it's not only the ID phase, but also the implementation. And a third pillar which you are working on is enabling environment. It's about money, but also about the regulatory issues. Permitting is also lately a very important issue. When there is no permit, you can't build anything. And I think that's something where member states should be involved on the regional level. How can we accelerate that? But on a global level, we like to exchange the experiences. And I think that's also what can we learn from each other to accelerate? Because we really have to roll it out very quickly now.
Very good. 100 hydrogen valleys by 2030. Well, we will do 50 in Europe, so we will have already 50% of your target, Matthijs, in Europe. Now, on hydrogen valleys, well, we just heard also Bulgaria. There is a possibility to maybe create a hydrogen valley. I was there with the Commissioner Gabriel. We visited Stara Zagora in Bulgaria, which is a potential candidate, I would say, for a hydrogen valley. And you mentioned the synergies. And now with the Prague Declaration and the synergies updated manual from the European Commission, we need to try to find synergies. And what we have done is that in our call for the hydrogen valleys, we have talked about a seal of excellence. So would you see, for example, that the hydrogen valley in Bulgaria would be the first possible project or a trial or a pilot to try to work with this synergies approach, and would the seal of excellence help in that? Or what are your views on that?
I do hope that the Hydrogen Valley will be one of the projects that will receive support using the synergy approach. I do hope that maybe they're supported from the joint undertaking. We'll see. Maybe it will be the Christmas surprise you promised. But both are possible for our program. Our program, as I said, will be using both alternative funding, which is the Seal of Excellence, and cumulative funding, which is 50-50% possibility. And this is something that our program builds on. It's the synergies with the European partnerships. It's the synergies with the Seal of Excellence, which is provided from other parts of the Horizon Europe. The European Innovation Council, for example, the teaming projects, which are very important for regional development of the research and innovation base, let's say, and also under the Digital Europe program for European digital and innovation hubs, which are also triggers for regional development and for digital development of the SMEs and other industrial players. As for Stara Zagora, I really hope that it will be a poster baby for our country in terms of synergies, of course, but also as an excellent model for bottom-up approach where everybody is engaged with the project. It's not only that we're pulling to happen, it's the research community which is pulling, it's the industry which is pushing this to happen and is putting efforts, real money, which is quite unusual for our region. And also the university system, which is supporting the other project that is very, you mentioned, and I suppose it will be very important for the European development. It's the skills project. Because this region is under the Just Transition Fund region, and in the next years, it's supposed that a lot of people will need to be reskilled in order to be able to stay employed because of the phasing out of power plants in the region. So skills, synergies, and engagement of all actors in the region is very important. The government's role is to help here. And I hope that we will be, let's say, a helper in this process.
I think you're doing a great job. Already you're here, and if I hear what you're trying to do there, it's fantastic. But I think it's not easy to match all those different funding. I mean, the skills funding, then I mean, you have this regional cohesion fund, just transition fund. There's so much fun.
It's quite difficult, I would say. Maybe with Seal of Excellence, it is it's a little bit easier. But with other two instruments, both the Commission and Member States should work quite closer together, because there are a lot of practicalities that need to be decided and need to be resolved. Because it's, as you mentioned, it's up to Member States to implement what is proposed on EU level. And at the end, we are responsible for the spendings, and it's a little bit tricky. But let's hope that working together we'll find a way that this will happen in the most easiest way, because the beneficiaries are the end users, and they are somehow frustrated from different types of let's say, rules that they have to follow, but I'm sure that we'll find the most effective way.
Very good. Some practicalities, but I'm sure today there are here a lot of people from the European Commission. You can talk about those practicalities, and also we can try to help, and maybe this Hydrogen Valley could be an example, and try by doing it, by implementing, trying to solve those practicalities, of course. Marco, I know that also, you mentioned already, the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley is also, you're planning to do that, but you are even more ambitious over there, because you try to make a Hydrogen Valley with 3 countries, or 2 countries and a region, so it's really cross-border. All those different funding schemes, I mean, every country, their own rules, their own sets, and must not be easy. But tell me about also a bit about your climate fund. Will your climate fund help that? Do you think we can combine all this? What were actually the difficulties or what difficulties maybe you will see in future to combine all those funding? And do you have any recommendations also to our friends of the European Commission?
I mean, certainly the story goes with the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley goes back several years ago. You know, it started off with also with collaboration with the defense sector and the RES Hub project. So a lot of, I think, what this, as you've mentioned, collaboration between 3 different countries, tens of different stakeholders, different funding mechanisms, regulations, and whatnot. It's very difficult to coordinate something like that. So when you have individuals and organizations, ICUBES and several others, for example, who are really kind of passionate about something, that will drive, you know, the government, for example, and other stakeholders to really kind of be very operational, to be up to date and expedite things further, and that will drive progress faster. I think, as I mentioned, the climate fund, we're looking to restructure it in the next year, obviously with the different, things in mind, such as looking for synergies, higher impact, and whatnot. We're looking to put a lot of emphasis on research and innovation, not only for hydrogen in particular, also carbon capture and storage, different systems and whatnot. But we'll work together with people from the North Adriatic Hydrogen Valley and see how we can support them. As we mentioned before, permitting is a big issue, so that's one of the kind of key challenges for getting projects off the ground, and community engagement. In Slovenia is a very close-knit and sparsely populated country, so we have several examples from the past where kind of companies and regions have struggled with legacy, and that's been proven to be an obstacle to get projects going, you know, at the speed that they need to. So in terms of recommendations to the Commission and other organizations is, you know, to come to Slovenia to speak about why certain things are needed. And also, I think one of the biggest things that we will need is technical assistance, for example, to project developers and capacity building within the ministries. I think that's what will drive, everything combined will push, along with funding, will push things forward.
I'm very happy that you mentioned this, Marco, because well, we have this PDA, this Project Development Assistance, where basically we try to help. But indeed, the PTA, or Project Technical Assistance, is maybe something that we might need to look into on how we can help even more to develop such a hydrogen valley and do actually the techno-economical research really by people who are working every day on the topics in your country. So
yeah, and certainly we have, we have organizations here in Brussels, such as the Slovenian Business Research Association, that is tasked with helping companies to look for funding opportunities within the EU, and then how they can offer them assistance, for example, in terms of the application process and whatnot. And so within the government, we really try to hold in a couple of months an event for all the different parties and different organizations, invite them and maybe invite the Commission as well to attend, to really kind of explain to them and show them what's out there, what's available. And I think that will assist companies and businesses to really access these funds and drive their vision forward.
I think it will be important also, as you said, this climate fund that you're trying to review maybe next year, and that, for example, the Seal of Excellence maybe could also be part of it. Think about it, I would suggest.
Certainly, and we're also in the process of developing a methodology about what kind of projects to actually fund and how to measure the impact. So that could certainly be one of the things that could be a criteria for deciding whether to include something and to what extent fund it.
Very good. Please ask questions. I know I saw already one question is there. I will come to that in a minute. First, I have another question for our friend Matthijs, because Matthijs, I forgot to mention that actually. He's also managing the CTP. And CTP, and the Commission, we like to work with abbreviations, but that means the Clean Energy Transition Partnership. It's another partnership which is basically between member states and the European Commission. And I was wondering, well, maybe first you can slightly explain with what is CTP first, I mean, what they are doing, what is the mission, but also how do you see then this cooperation with the member states? How do they put the money there? How do they combine all those funding? And is there any chance that maybe the clean hydrogen and the CTP can work together? How do you see that?
Thank you, Bart. I wanted to come back to one of your remarks, Marco. I think that's very important. You say capacity building in the ministries. I think that's a very important one that we learned from each other as governmental organizations. And in fact, building hydrogen valleys is a kind of public-private partnership. The public and the private have to work together, and we have to learn from each other. That's also what we are doing, trying to do in fact, the SET plan, and also in this CET partnership funding bodies. What kind of funding do we have available? Can we align our research and innovation programs on that? Can we organize even joint calls and trying as well to bring researchers and industries from our countries together, cross-border, not just only in our countries. I think as governmental organizations we have to learn. Some funding schemes are not working or not fully up to speed to help a valley. So I think there's something in the design phase of a program, I think is very important. Our predecessor of the Innovation Fund, for instance, was very much focused on the output, on the operational aspects, but then they realized that there was almost no support for building up the capex to start really projects. So they fine-tuned now the program, and the Innovation Fund is much more suitable for the development of new projects. And that's what we as governments can do. In the CET partnership, we have, I think, around 30 countries now working together, bringing national money together. And as a Commission, we are topping this up. And they organize calls and invite new partnerships to come in. And I think that's working. We hope it's working because we have now the first call. But we really see that there's enthusiasm between the different governments to support. One of the transition initiatives they have is on renewable fuels and hydrogen. So there is already a call open where member states can work together. And I would only like to invite more focus on hydrogen, and that countries are saying, okay, we have a budget, we make this available for these joint goals. Because, Michael, you're doing a cross-border hydrogen valley. It means that people from across the border are working together, and that can be maybe stimulated as well via the CET partnership. Nice thing for myself is the other hat, Mission Innovation. It is even so open that the Americans and Canada are already joining this initiative and also partner in this CET partnership, and even specifically on hydrogen and CCS, especially on this field. The Department of Energy on hydrogen fuel cells program is investing here. So, and that's international. Because countries outside Europe are looking as well what we are doing and what would like to learn from what we are doing.
Very good.
If you allow me, I just want to add about the synergies with other partnership, for example, which is quite important, of course, but also with the missions of the 5 missions of the Commission that were launched and that will be supported also from the Horizon Europe partly, the research part. But, for example, one of the missions is for climate neutral cities. And I think the clean hydrogen has a lot to do with the climate neutral cities. So work with these missions will also be quite needed and important. And another thing is that, for example, we will be using Seal of Excellence, but this will not be a single act. So it's not just to provide support for projects that receive Seal of Excellence, either joint undertaking or other Horizon Europe program or scheme. For example, for the Hydrogen Valley, if they're successful or if they receive a Seal of Excellence, we will support this initial phase. But then we will go beyond that, and we have to continue with another bigger initiatives that are going on there, with the support for industry and support for manufacturing of green hydrogen, where there is a potential for that. So it's just the first layer of what should be done in order to,
It's the trigger, huh?
Yeah, the trigger maybe, yeah.
It's true, because, I mean, we heard all the numbers for the for the hydrogen transition. We're talking about hundreds of billions of euros. I mean, governments cannot cope with that. I mean, you can trigger things, but then investors and private side have to come in and push it further.
And to trigger other funds as well, because this is also important. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. By the way, I wanted to ask you, such a technical assistance, would that be interesting for Bulgaria?
Especially for municipalities, because, okay, ministries, technical assistance in ministries, okay, but let's say that they already have some kind of experience for the last 14 years. So I believe technical assistance for the municipalities that will be hosting hydrogen valleys or such kind of big projects would also be very important, because some of the regulations go on regional level.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a question here, but it's not really directly related to the topic of the debate, but still I found it an important topic. It's about social acceptance of hydrogen.
Of course.
Because the question here is that any loss of social acceptance will lead to a delay to reach our targets. What can we do about that? Marco, any idea how can we maybe also cooperate between the member states or with Europe on this particular aspect?
I think certainly, yes. Social acceptance has shown in not just in hydrogen. I mean, other technology developments such as CCS is a good example of how without social acceptance and without the right approach from the governments and project developers, that can really set you back a number of years or even cancel the project itself. So I think it's the responsibility of the policymakers and the project developers to work on that aspect. And there's also opportunities for research, for example. So you have Horizon projects that really I'm speaking from CCS perspective, they really focus on that aspect. So, and then promoting that community and engagement at an early stage. So it might take you a little bit more effort to start from the beginning and really approach and do the long process and really send the message out, but it will make things easier when it comes to permitting, for example. So, and then in the long term, obviously, that saves you time.
Absolutely. You want to?
I just want to say, indeed, with the permitting, it's not only about the permitting. I think it is a transition for everybody, for the citizens, forever. Look, the electric vehicles or the hydrogen fuel cells based vehicles, they will be part of our life. And that is a change. And that's why we have to engage the citizens. And I think also what happened in the last half year with the war is that in fact our energy system is quite fragile, which we have now. We have to make it more robust, more secure, and citizens realize that now with the electricity prices, etc. So I think there is a momentum that to say, okay, let's explore renewable energy technologies. Let's explore hydrogen as part of the energy system. And for that reason, I really welcome hydrogen as part of the set plan. The implementation working group was mentioned in the introductions. It's really a building block in this energy transition. But we have to include the citizens.
In that sense, we actually, on the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, now we are running a survey, all in, I think, at least 10 European countries to know what does citizens think about hydrogen. First of all, do they know it? Because maybe a lot of people still don't know what is hydrogen. And then, how do they feel about hydrogen? Do they feel it's safe? Do they feel they are worried about it? I mean, so we are really, and actually, I think tomorrow we will announce the first results of that survey that we did. So I would definitely recommend you to come and listen to that one tomorrow morning, because it's very, very interesting results. And I just want to trigger you a little bit with this. Anyway, I would like to come, because I see that the time is running out very fast, but I would like to ask you something on the ERA. You have the European Research Area, and the Commission and the Member States have decided to make a pilot on hydrogen. So what was actually done is that all the Member States came together, and I know Bulgaria was actually one of a very leading active country in that era, so congratulations for that. With Daria, she was really involved in that as a professor. So now you have made, as a member state, your research plan. It's out there. You can download the program. What is the next step? How do you think that we can, what should happen next? Because now we have a very nice document. What should happen now?
To implement the actions in the document.
How do you think
this is always a problem? We have a number of very nice documents that are hanging on the site of European Commission, on national ministries. We have a very nice strategy for research, innovation strategy. We have now great plans to develop hydrogen strategy, for example, etc., etc. So we have really a lot of policy documents and strategies, but the implementation of those strategies is the key to go further and to develop, for example, new strategies and new goals. Because if we continue to renew what already for years is on the agenda, I'm not sure whether we will make great leaps, maybe steps, but we need a leap, I think, today.
Indeed, I definitely we need a leap. That's crystal clear. Yeah. Marco, you want to comment on that as well?
I laugh because in Slovenia there's a running joke. We're a very strategic country, so we have a lot of strategic documents, but the implementation is sometimes lacking. Our role, as I mentioned before, actions speak louder than words, whether it's words on paper or spoken out loud. So, the way we can kind of push things forward is through providing funding for research through Climate Fund or various other internal mechanisms through other ministries that are available, and just advocate. Yeah.
Getting things done, that's important.
Exactly.
Yeah, that the people see, the citizens feel that something is happening.
When people see things are getting done, they are more likely to accept certain strategic decisions, and
So as a Clean Hydrogen Partnership, we try to do that. First, before I close, any questions from the audience? I mean, there's still 2 microphones there. If somebody wants to ask a question, just stand up and go to the microphone. And that seems not to be the case. Oh, yes, there is one. You can just come here to the mic. Okay. Or yeah, you bring the microphone, whatever. As long as we can hear the gentleman, that's the most important.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hi, this is Ersan from Tüpraş, Turkey. My question to Laura for the Hydrogen Valley. What is the capacity in terms of megawatts, and if the project is not funded by the Commission, what is the next plan?
I can give you the technical details later, maybe, because I have them on my computer, but I don't remember them. I'm not the technical person. But in case the project is not successful and is not supported from the joint undertaking, but if they are labeled with the seal of excellence, we will continue the direct negotiations with the team and to see whether in what amount, up to what percentage we will be able to support them from the structural and cohesion funds. Because there we have limitations somehow. But if they have a seal of excellence, they have a special article in the general block exemption regulation, which is very important for the state aid rules, because we, as a member state, have to obey state aid rules. And we can support them with quite a good percentage of funding. So they will be supported.
Fantastic. So if it's a good project, successful project, we will have a Hydrogen Valley in Bulgaria.
Yes.
That's the point. So with this, unfortunately,
There is a
time. Oh, there's another. Oh, yes.
No, to take away, what I think is the next step, also in ERA, is that member states representatives are taking the messages at home and starting a dialogue. Create really the vision, bring the different people together, but also bringing the enthusiasm from other countries to their own country. As an example, we are talking about hydrogen valleys, but I've seen now in India a call for hydrogen valleys. They have been so enthusiastic about. And I think this enthusiasm, which we have here, we have to bring it in all the regions, etc. We are calling for regions to develop that. And it has to be done with also innovation, bring the research there into the practice. And I think we have to keep this momentum alive and really bring it into realization together. I think that's something for the next year. And I hope next year that they say, okay, it is working. We are engaging more people in this work. You are
Next
part
year-
of it, Bart.
Yeah, next year we have an Indian Hydrogen Valley here. I understood yes. Through the mission innovation, of course. So, ladies and gentlemen. Oh,
There is a question from
oh, sorry. Yes.
Paul McCormick from Hydrogen Ireland, and I'd like to ask a question of the panel. You have all the bids going in for hydrogen valleys, and only some will succeed, but most will get that seal of excellence. Could the new hydrogen bank be a mechanism then to secure or to release private funding to bring the hydrogen valleys forward and to accelerate that?
Okay.
I'm not sure I get the question until
Could the
the end.
European Hydrogen Bank help to
no.
still? I think that the panelists probably don't know yet a lot about the European Hydrogen Bank.
I saw it somewhere in the innovation agenda or some.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the European Hydrogen Bank was actually announced by our by the President Ursula von der Leyen during the State of the Union, and indeed the European Hydrogen Bank will try to help to stimulate a guaranteed offtake of hydrogen, and of course there will be. I mean, she announced €3 billion would be put in this European Hydrogen Bank. Will probably come from the Innovation Fund, or at least from the ETS scheme somehow. That's what they think. So, I mean, it will definitely help. It will not help only hydrogen valleys, but it will also help any big hydrogen production or hydrogen consumption case. Yes, Matthijs.
The European Investment Bank, I think, currently is supporting projects that need loans at no guarantee or something like that. So they have such kind of schemes that can be in synergy with other funding, grant funding or other types of support.
What I want to say as well, I think it's also about financial engineering. It's not just one fund which will make the Hydrogen Valley. It is EU funding, maybe, but it could be as well member states funding, regional funding, private investment, by the way. We really would like to see the private investment as well. It's a business case. We would like to make this business case. And all together, makes it happen. And I think we shouldn't forget. And I think that's also this financial engineering. We have to learn as well a bit more. And the Hydrogen Bank can play a role, the Innovation Fund, but also the nationals. So I think that's something. We don't have a solution yet, and it could be different plans, huh?
Yeah. No, it will be a combination of everything as you're now experiencing in the North Adriatic with all these different funding. I'm really looking forward how this will go, and I'm sure we will learn a lot from you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think this was a fantastic discussion, because what I learned is now also we have 2 countries in Central Eastern Europe really ready to invest also from the government to spend money on a new R&I program, as you mentioned, on the climate fund that are being there. They are willing now to invest money also in hydrogen to kickstart, to decarbonize also their local economy, and this is fantastic. So yeah, we can only be happy with that. I would like to thank my fantastic panelists, Laura, Marco, Matthijs. You did a fantastic. Give them a round of applause, please.
Thank you too.
Thank you, Tim.
And now also important, coffee.